Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Reach Your Happy with Laura. Over the past 24 days, I have been going through quite a process. I gave up coffee for 30 days. It was part of a 30-day challenge I was doing with my best friends and my husband. And let me tell you, when you actively take something out of your experience that you have leaned on for so long, it changes things. And I warn my clients in session, like when you change one thing, understand there's a ripple effect. One thing changes many things. We often can think that, oh, if I change my workout routine, that's not going to impact anything other than my physical body. It changes your mental well-being. It changes your relationship to yourself and therefore everybody else. It changes your priorities. It changes everything. So giving up coffee, I've done it before. And this time I felt like I was using coffee as a crutch and I didn't know exactly for what. I just know that I really went towards it. Whether I was happy, sad, and anywhere in between, coffee was my go-to beverage. I drink plenty of water, but coffee was like a crutch. It was like a cigarette for me. So in giving it up, I not only let go of the habit, although I still really want it. I realize that, unlike drinking alcohol or smoking cannabis or doing other drugs, right, that are usually under wraps or at a bar or in the privacy of your own home, coffee is something that is everywhere. One, my husband still drinks it, so I smell it every morning. Two, it's on social media. People are happy to drink their iced coffee and talk. I see it at the coffee shop, at the nail salon, at the hair salon, just everywhere there is coffee. So it's been very in my face. And there, in this 30-day challenge with the group, we all decided on punishments if we didn't fulfill the things we set out to do for the challenge. I have to meditate. I added a fruit or vegetable to every meal I have, took out coffee and alcohol, and we all are doing 45 minutes of intentional movement. So I knew this was going to be a challenge, but not in the way that I thought, which is very interesting. That is a very common thing that happens with healing, that I think I'm going to Laura for the session about my anxiety, or I think it's about my discomfort with my relationship, or I think, and then we touch on things that maybe are not directly pointed at that relationship, but unearth something else that maybe you weren't aware of or weren't realizing that it was important to work through to then shift that relationship or that thing that you originally came in for. So took coffee away. Initially had some physical symptoms like a migraine, which has been a pattern of mine since I was really young. It's a self-punishment thing, getting a migraine. So that's another story for another day. So it was the initial migraine, and then after that, it felt like coffee was a sadness suppressant. It was something that I used when I felt, again, even when I was happy, because it's interesting. My husband and I were talking that on the happiest days, still the saddest thing is we don't have our moms physically here with us. And on our worst days, that's the hardest thing too. So coffee for me, when I'm happy, right, I want to get coffee and amplify that feeling, because underneath there's still a real deep sadness of missing my mom and wishing she was here, physically here, because I know she's energetically here for me. I deeply feel that and know that, but it's different and I'm still adjusting to it. And this coffee process has shown me so much about that relationship and what I'm still attached to and why I use coffee. So the first week I cried so much. Felt like I was going through a breakup, but like a really like deeply healing crying experience. So something I came to was, I really try to look at, okay, beyond the idea of like, okay, there's no coffee in my system, so therefore I'm having this physical reaction, but there's also a mental reaction, which can happen with a physical, right? It's all one. But it was even further beyond that. I'm like, this is on all levels of my being. I feel like I'm grieving. And I came to realize that coffee kept me in that heightened state, that fight or flight, that like ready to go at any moment. Mind is already at revving pretty high. So if something happened, I'd be able to respond appropriately. And that was my relationship with my mom, because we never knew what was going to happen. So I kind of always was on edge, always real tense. So to get rid of coffee is to then shift my relationship to that always kind of amped up, ready to run, ready to go feeling. So by quitting coffee, I was in a way breaking up with my relationship to that angst, to that anxiety, to that like fight or flight, ready to go at any time, because if I'm ready, then maybe something as bad won't happen. And I have experience where that's been proven to be wrong, but on a very subconscious level, that is the programming that was going on. Coffee kept me alert and ready. And that was true. And alert and ready, but irritable, which I didn't know until it was like 7 or 8 days, maybe even 10 days after not having coffee, where I noticed at the end of the day, I wasn't irritable. I wasn't tired. I wasn't feeling short. I was a lot more productive. I was a lot more present in my work, with my family. I was out of judgment and criticism and more into compassion and understanding. And it makes so much sense to me now. Well, fight or flight, you're ready to go. You're kind of on edge and irritable. Yeah, you're like, oh, I got other things to do. I got coffee, I'm all revved up. I've got other things to do than talk to you right now. When I was in conversation with loved ones, I'd feel these judgmental thoughts. And it was like, dude, what's going on? Why are you like looking at the worst case scenario here? I could feel the discord. I could feel that this isn't how I actually want to be perceiving this person or this situation, but my mind's going there and I'm reacting in ways that I just don't like. So to remove coffee and then be around my husband, be around my family, be around my clients and my friends, and not have that judgmental Judy, no offense to the Judys out there, but that's just what came to mind. Sometimes naming it is helpful, sometimes it's not. But that judgmental Judy in my mind wasn't there. I was just able to hear because I wasn't ready to fight or fly off. I was just present. But in letting something go, I had to go through that grieving process. And at any point I could relieve the suffering. I could just grab a cup. It's right there. No, you can't see it, but it's right there. I have full access to it. But, sometimes it's like, how much do I suffer for this? Or how much is this me causing suffering that's maybe unnecessary? And for me, the suffering that was unfolding was a necessary part of my healing. At no point did I think like, oh, if I had a cup of coffee, this would go away and I'm okay with that. I was like, no, this is so important. These feelings of sadness that I have been just holding down out of fear need to come up. I have the space to do it. I am safe in so many ways. I want to process this. So in my processing of it, I started to realize my attachment to coffee is actually attachment to that angst, that fight or flight, that stressed out state, which is, and even we keep drawing the line back, my attachment to that period of my life with my mom. So really, is it the coffee? Really, is it that fight or flight? Or is it the memory of my mom that I'm attached to and how I felt? And some part of me, when I was bawling my eyes out and I was looking at her picture, oh, the lights just went out. I told myself she's not coming back. She's not physically coming back. And I needed to own that. I needed to say that out loud. And by facing that completely, not running from those words and just saying it, it was like, shit, that's hard. And that's true. And I'm really okay with that. I've lived, it's not 20 years yet, 18 years without her physically being here. I've moved through high school, my graduation, going to college, graduating, all these relationships, my sisters, my brothers having children, me getting married, me going through all the different things that I've gone through. I've done it all without her. The last, so I think, little tidbit of me holding on to that past version of myself was me holding on to the suffering that I experienced with her, not actually her, because her love remains. I don't need that memory. I don't need to keep myself in that heightened state of anxiety to feel close to her. But doesn't that make so much sense why I would feel so drawn to caffeine? It makes so much sense to me. So I know you have something. We all have things that we lean on. And I would not encourage taking said thing away before you really feel ready to take it away. I, like I said, have given up coffee a couple times, and the other times were just really physically violent, but I didn't have the awareness that I do now, and I didn't have the life circumstances unfolding around me that I did in this past little bit here. So it's not that I wouldn't suggest giving something up. I do. I really do suggest it, but I would suggest getting support in that. So whether it's you're going to quit complaining, or you're going to end a relationship, you're going to cut out alcohol or cannabis, or whatever it is your drug is that you lean on, I would suggest you get support for that, because it can be gnarly. But the healing that can take place when we remove these things that we lean on to, that we think is helpful for us, but it's actually hurtful. And to some degree, right? I knew I was drinking too much coffee, but I wasn't willing to look at that or give it up until I said, friends, let's do a 30-day challenge before my birthday. Let's do it. I'm gonna pull the cord. They all suggested wean off the coffee, and I was like, no, I gotta go cold turkey. I gotta dive into this. And I'm so glad I did, because it was exactly the push I needed to have these realizations, to detach from that suffering. And so many other things have shifted because of this, in the most beautiful of ways. Hard, but beautiful. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you for listening to my story. I would love to hear your story. I will be back soon. Take good care. I love you. Bye-bye.